wonderful viewers. This is point 5 tutorial. In today's video, I'm here to teach you guys sword in mathematics. Now the question is, what is sword? Before you know this sword, let me explain two things for you. The first thing I will explain is the meaning of factors, and the next thing to explain is what we know as perfect square. And the question is, what is factors, or what is factor rather? So when you explain factors, if you want to know factors better, so a number is said to be a factor if that number is divisible by a particular number. For instance, 2 and 3 are factors of what? Are factors of 6. What makes these two numbers to be factor of 6 is that these two numbers can divide 6 without remainder, but 4 is not a factor of 6. So which means 6 is not divisible by what? 4. So this is how to understand the meaning of factors. A number is said to be a factor if it can divide a particular number in question. So aside this, I also explained these factors in one of my videos, as HCF. Okay, so apart from this, what's the meaning of perfect square? So this is square roots. So for something to be called a square, it means that that thing must be equal in all sides. Let me forget about the diagrammatic illustration of square. Now, what perfect square is all about is, it has to do with numbers that when you take their square roots, when you take a square root of a number, if the answer gives you a whole number or an integer, it means that the so-called number is a perfect square. Like 36 is a perfect square. 36 is said to be a perfect square because when you take the square root of 36, the answer gives you nothing but a whole number, an integer. So when you talk about 49, 49 is also a perfect square. What makes 49 to be a perfect square is because when you take the square root of 49, the answer gives you 7, which is a whole number or an integer. So in this regard, what happens to a situation whereby you take the square root of 7? If you take the square root of 7, it can never give you a whole number or an integer. Rather, it will give you something more of 2 point something, probably 2.4 blah 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 blah. But the most important thing is the answer given to you, or the result, will never be integer or whole number. If you point this type of thing, they will never give you a straightforward answer, or they will never give you an integer or whole number as an answer. So in this regard, it points out that any number that gives you an integer or a whole number as answer when you must have taken the square root is known as a perfect square. But the numbers that will never give you a whole number or an integer when you must have taken their square roots is known as a non-perfect square. It's known as a non-perfect square. So this non-perfect square is what we call what? Sword in mathematics. So every non-perfect square is said to be a sword. So this is the business of the day we have, which is sword. Now the most important thing to note here will be, you discover that the so-called sword we have in mind to deal with today has several operations. So the operations that we carried out in sword include addition. We work with addition, we work with subtraction, we work with division, we we also work with multiplication. So these are the various operations that we deal with in SOLD. Okay, so if I start with addition, so mind you, this video is just an intro to SOLD, but the subsequent videos will go in depth to make sure that we explain vividly what this guy is talking about. So when you talk about the addition or the addition operation carried out under what SOLD, it has to be, let's say if I give you square root of 3 plus square root of what? 5. So this thing is never, or is not the same thing as saying square root of 3 plus 5. These two things are not equal to, so be warned. We are dealing with subtraction. You have to know that if I write square root of 5 minus square root of 3, it's not the same thing as saying square root of 5 minus square root of 5 minus 3. These two guys are not the same thing, so be warned. Okay, so let me also give you a rundown with regards to division. So anytime we are dealing with this, the SOLD in division, if I write 5 all over 3, all in square root, is the same thing as saying square root of what? 5 all over square root of 3. These two guys are equal. So another thing, the last one, which is multiplication, will be if I write square root of 3 multiplied by square root of 5, it is the same thing as saying square root of 3 times 5, which is square root of 15. So these two things are what? The same. Everything here is said to be what? Equal. But in addition and subtraction, you can never say something like this is equal with this. If you try it, if you doubt me, you punch it on calculator, you find out that these two guys are not what? Equal. So be smart and be warned. Okay, so now let me just give you a brief example of how SOLD looks like. So for instance, if you are giving something to simplify root of 12, you just need to write the solution. After, you must have written this guy down. You bring your stuff down, the question. Now this guy, the given question is root of 12. This 12 is of more what? Paramount or important to us. So we have to deal with 12. You know that if you write down the factors of 12, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. These are the and 12 also. These are the factors of what? 12. So inside these factors, you need to select two numbers such that one of the numbers must be what? Must be a perfect square. If you check here, the only perfect square we have here is 4. So we take 4 out. The next thing you deal with is you check the number you multiply with 4 to give us what? 12. That number is 3. So 4 times 3 is 12. So therefore, it means that root of 12 is the same thing as saying square root of 4 multiplied by this, which is the same thing as saying square root of 4 times square root of 3. So it's gonna be, if you check, you say, but you and I know that square root of 4 is 2. So it implies that root of 4 multiplied by root of 3 is same thing as saying 2 multiplied by root of 3, which is same thing as saying root of 3. 2 root of 3, forgive me. Or I can take it up. Say 2 root of 3. Or maybe you can come over here and write the answer perfectly without wasting my time at all. So it becomes 2 root of 3. So this is another example in today's video. So supposing you are asked to simplify square root of 48, you just write solution after writing solution, you bring down the question, which is square root of 48. Then, in knowing the square root of 48, the next thing you do is you write down the factors of 48. Forget the square for now. Forget about the square roots rather. So the factors of this guy will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 16. So these are the factors of 48. Now, in these factors of 48, in the list given to you here, find out the perfect squares there. The two perfect squares here are 4 and 16. So you go with the bigger value. The bigger value here is this 16. Supposing we have no other perfect square, we can go with 4. But when you have 2 or more perfect square, you go with the biggest or the bigger number. So in this regard, we have to pick 16. Now picking 16, the next thing is, what number could multiply 16 to give you 48? That number is 3. So it means that 16 times this will give you this. So it then implies that square root of 48 will be the same thing as writing 16 multiplied by 3, everything in square roots. So you have to remember the instance I gave in the former word video, the former example rather. So here, this is the same thing as writing root of 16, we have to separate it, times root of 3. See the same thing under the operation of what? Multiplication. So you said that root of 16 is the same thing as 4 because 16 is the perfect whole square. So after that, everything implies that root of 16 multiplied by root of 3 is the same thing as saying 4 multiplied by root of 3, which is the same thing as saying 4 root of 3. So this is the answer. So in a nutshell, if you are given something in sort to simplify, the first thing you do is to write down or list down the factors of that number. When you get the factors of the number from the list you have gotten, write down what? The perfect squares. If you get the perfect squares, if it's more than 1, choose what? The biggest value or the bigger value. Then when you get the bigger value, take another non-square number that when you multiply the two, it must surely give you back the given number, such as 48 in this example. After that, you continue the work at hand. So this is very, very simple to do. Okay, let me also give you another example to solidify your understanding. Supposing you are given this to simplify square root of 8. This is very simple. The solution here will be, just write down the question, which is square root of 8. From here, write down the factors of 8. Factors of 8 means the numbers that can divide 8 without remainder. So they include 1, 2, 4, and 8. So these are the list of what? The factors of 8. So from this given list, write down the perfect square. The only perfect square here is 4. Bring it down. Then since you have gotten it, you ask yourself, what number will 4 multiply to give you what? 8. That number is 2. So 4 times 2 will give you what? 8. Therefore, it implies that square root of 8 is same thing as saying square root of 4. Same thing as saying 4 times 2, everything in square root. And this thing is the same thing as saying square root of 4. We take it separately, multiply by square root of 2. So you said that you check this guy, 4 is a perfect square. 4 is said to be a perfect square because when we take the square root of this 4, it must surely give us, the answer must be either in integer or in whole number. So you said that square root of 4 is what? 2. Therefore, it then implies that square root of 4 multiplied by square root of 2 will give us square root of 4 is 2 multiplied by root of 2, which will give us 2 root 2. So we don't need to get the value of this, because these two equation, this square root of 2 here, is a non-perfect whole square. So we leave it like that way. So the last example in today's video will be let's say I'm giving this guy to deal with square root of 60. So the solution to this will be, you write it down, square root of 60. So when you must have written this, you check 60, this 60, write down the factors of 60, which means the numbers that can divide 60 without remainder. They include 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 can go, 15, 30, and 60. So these are the factors of what? 60. So from this list, get or write down the perfect squares here. The only perfect square here is 4 as well here. So we bring 4 down. You ask yourself, what number should 4 multiply to give you what? 60 from this list. That number is nothing but 15. 4 times 15 will give you what? This. So it then implies that root of 60 is the same thing as saying 4 times 15, everything in square roots. So which is the same thing as, if you take this guy individually, it will be square root of 4 multiplied by square root of 15. 4 is a perfect square, 15 is not a perfect square. 4 is said to be a perfect square because when you take the square root of 4, it will give us an integer or a whole number as an answer. Whereas 15 is said to be a non-perfect square in the sense that if you take the square root, it's going to give you a decimal. So we don't need it here. Now it becomes, you said that square root of 4 will give us 2. Therefore, this implies that square root of 4 times square root of 15 will be, square root of 4 is 2 multiplied by square root of 15. Every damn thing will be 2 root of 15. So this is the answer. So please, I have to thank you guys so far for subscribing to my channel, and I also plead for you guys to keep on subscribing to my channel, keep on liking and commenting on the comment section, and keep on sharing this video till you get to the last man in the world. There is virtually no big deal. I will always respond to any of your questions. You don't need to panic with regards to that. So thank you very much for a wonderful time. See you next time.